Okay, so if Impact is moving to Thursday, and now it's officially been announced that NXT is moving to Tuesdays, everyone's playing musical chairs. Where the hell are we gonna go? Let's talk about Impact Wrestling's official move to Thursday on today's show, well, tonight, whatever it may be, wherever side you are. Let's get into this show right now. What's up, everybody? It is Nigeria alongside Miranda, and today we're going to be talking about our hot topic of Impact Wrestling Weekly, our weekly show. As you know, now with our new format, we're just tackling the biggest topic, discussion, rumor, news, whatever it may be, coming out of Impact Wrestling this week. And it's so funny because we had to come up with this new format because of some things that's happening with Impact and in regards to how we had access to watching the shows earlier, and it worked for us back then in the way how we were doing it. Now, if we're not being able to do it that way, we have to change. And man, look, we got to figure out something again because now
Impact just got us moving, and it's really having a domino effect on the rest of the wrestling world, or the change of NXT is having a domino effect. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Impact announced the move from Tuesdays to Thursdays before WWE announced NXT moving from Wednesdays to Tuesdays. So if anything, Impact once again is leading the front on changing. Now, for some fans, this is kind of a typical Impact move. Literally, Impact has been on every night of the week over the past 5 to 10 years. Like literally they've been on every night of the week. And so, the good news is they're not changing networks like we've seen before, but a shift in days. It's going to take some getting used to for fans, but at the same time, likely a smart move on their end because they seemingly didn't want to compete with NXT, which, has a very, if not the same audience.
Yeah. So the official announcement that came out sometime last week after we did last week's show, obviously, was that Impact Wrestling's moves to Thursdays. The FLAGSHIP weekly show returns to traditional night starting April 8th, which we'll come back to in a second. And then on that night, we will have the Impact World Champion Rich Swann, the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, be a part of a massive six-man main event, which is going to be on Access Thursday, April 8th. So they have, they already discussed that match or whatnot. And obviously they're building towards that. And it's going to be a big night. However, there's also something else kind of big happening that night. So it seems like they just can't get away from NXT no matter however you look at it, right?
Yeah,
because NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, a 2-night event, April 7th and April 8th. So what?
There's no way they can kind of work around it at this point. It just is. WrestleMania week is exactly that, a week worth of programming. So yes, the change, even though they're trying to tempt fans with, a Kenny Omega match, it's going to be hard to beat, night 2 of NXT TakeOver. So, good try, but we already know kind of what this is going to look like. And I think it, again, kind of the domino effect. Speaking of Kenny Omega and AEW, what is this going to mean now for those on-air plugs and commercials that they've done so far with the Tonys? Those have been a way to preview AEW Dynamite for the week. And that's been a huge way for AEW to say, yeah, we're buying this airtime so we can get you fans from Impact to come and join us on Dynamite. Now that this is going to be happening afterwards, are they still going to do that and preview that much ahead, or is it going to look different? Just simply the way that they structure those plugs, it's probably going to, look different now that Impact's moving to Thursdays.
Yeah. Oh, so before, like, really good points. Before I even get to that too, like, I also wanted to just mention that, like, this April 8th thing should really be a big night for them, and definitely something for them to celebrate. I mean, again, with NXT TakeOver Stand to Deliver, which is going to be on the network and Peacock and on USA Network, so many different ways you can watch it. You're essentially having that against your folks who do have Access TV and I'm about to say Tinder and Twitch.
I mean, that's an interesting market if you start doing advertisements on Tinder or shows on Tinder. I don't know, but
yeah, probably should have waited a week after with me, but
yeah.
Here's the first question I want to throw to you. It's like, do you like the move? Is this the right move? What's just your initial reaction in seeing in hearing that, shall I say?
Yeah. I mean, going back to what I just mentioned as far as competing with NXT, I think it's smart that they're still going to be able to keep their unique viewership, because I do believe they do have fans who watch NXT and would be watching NXT instead of Impact if they had the choice. For me, as a wrestling fan, I also like it that it spreads out wrestling shows a little bit more evenly throughout the week. So now you have a major wrestling promotion with programming Monday through Friday. And for fans like myself, that's a lot more digestible than having multiple programs on the same day. So I like this move personally. Maybe it will bring in more fans because, Thursday is still an open day. Tuesdays were as well, because you really didn't have that much else airing. The NWA started to come back, but even then, that's on behind a paywall now compared to even being able to watch it free on Twitch or Access. So
right.
I still don't think there's a whole lot of competition on Thursdays, and maybe it does bring in a bigger or maybe a slightly bigger fan base. I'm not mad at it. I think they just had to do what was best for them, and realizing that, it's already a competition out there now to get viewers. They didn't want to make it that much harder on themselves by competing with NXT.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing about ratings with Impact is that they have their audience, they have their niche, and I think it's pretty safe to say that most people that was watching watching Impact wasn't watching on Access, because everybody doesn't have that. And also, in the world of people cutting the cord, you're looking at solutions that get you the channels you want. So, with where AEW and NXT is on, then those channels are typically a core central channel for sports and whatnot, and so they're included in these digital packages of channels. With that being said, I don't think Access has never really been the station to just be like, what, everyone has it, so it's accessible, so let's compare those ratings to everything else. And I get it, you still have to pay attention to ratings, but I feel like most of it has always been driven through through Twitch, and I think with the deal with Access, which is still a good deal for them, and we for however long that's going to suffice, considering things have been crazy all over the wrestling world. I think that Twitch, still will be the home where all the core followers will watch, and you want to make sure that you give people the opportunity to watch what they want to watch without distraction, competition, whatever it may be. So Thursday was the only practical move for them.
Yeah.
And I hope that it does keep, because for me, I think it's a good move, but I hope the core fan base and everybody is happy with this. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a fall off from the people that I've seen and talked to and the loyal fans. So it's a good move. But yeah, you bring up the other really good point is, how do you start promoting things weekly amongst the two shows? Well, again, we talked extensively the other weeks about how this partnership, you're right. I'm right.
Yeah, that's right. No, you're right about that.
And I think that it is interesting now because it does truly forces their hand in order to cross promote to have people on Wednesday,
right? Just to help promote Thursday.
Exactly.
I mean, really, what does AEW have to lose? If fans are already watching on Wednesday, why not cross promote to have, something that people can look forward to on Thursdays? Like,
Exactly.
I just don't understand why they haven't done that before, or just the fact that Impact's done a lot of the legwork in being able to tell this bigger AEW storyline, and AEW doing nothing for Impact.
Exactly. So, hopefully with that being said, hopefully that does provide, hopefully that gives the fans a little bit more excitement about this, with the possibility now that it has to kind of be driven through AEW in order to get through Thursday night, because sure, you can do Thursday and wrap around all week, but that's not really how booking structure really is. I mean, and that's not sort of how anybody works. The start of the week is either Sunday or Monday, depending on how you want to do it. But nonetheless, it still starts before both of those days, which means the first day is Wednesday, which means it should be AEW. Now you have AEW having 3 shows before it actually gets to that. You have your Dark, you have your Elevation, and you have Dynamite. There should be something that works, that benefits Impact on that note. And then the paid promotions, now they got to get creative now. Now they got to be able to try to figure out what can they do to make it make sense. And if it's, and here's the thing, and if it is previewing the week after, then that's cool, because they could break news on Impact, which then also drives viewership through them, because people's like, I want to know what's happening next week before next week comes, So, it's going to take a good roundtable conversation with everybody in the production team to make sure they're all on the same page, and hopefully that, no one's left in the dark with any of the things that's going on with it. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I like the move. It makes sense. It's legitimately the only move that can be done. And, April 6th or 8th, excuse me, will not be the first good day to take note of these changes. But the week after that should be absolutely interesting, because that will be their first week with no competition, with all eyes on them. So I think we'll get a true we'll get a true idea April 15th as to the changes and how everything goes about with that. So we'll see. We will see. Hopefully something good, because I don't know about them promos with the Tonys, man.
Right. They just get weirder, and they just continue to not make any sense as far as what is in it for Impact. It's a great way to promote AEW. They do a great job of previewing what's going to be happening the night after. And you get to see, again, this evolution, a little bit of this Tony Khan character. But again, even that is not consistent. We only see that version of Tony Khan on Impact, and we see no other version of that on his own shows. So continuity not happening.
But beyond you and your thoughts about the change, what sincerely is your expectation with this move? Now, again, I've always built Impact as the most resilient wrestling company of all time. Like, they legit, despite everything, they find a way to survive.
Yeah.
But now that they're going to make this change, what are you seeing different about things?
In some ways, I don't see that much of a difference. I feel like the product is going to stay the same. If anything, like I said earlier, as a wrestling fan, it's a little bit of a sigh of relief, because now things are spread out a little bit more. It is now, for the first time in, I think, ever, again, North American wrestling promotions on television every night of the week, Monday through Friday. And so for some fans, you may get burnt out. By the time you hit Thursday, you've already, like you said, you've had 3 days of AEW already, 2 days of WWE, not including other promotions like Ring of Honor, MLW, NWA, that already take that beginning part of the week. So by the time you hit Thursday, there's already about at least 7 shows that you could choose from. And again, some of them are online. So like the MLWs that are on YouTube is very similar to what, Impact offers on Twitch, where that's free, and that can open some doors and options for people who don't have cable or aren't paying for television. But again, too, if you're already stocking up your beginning part of the week with that much wrestling, by the time you hit the end, you can already be exhausted, and fans may not be that interested. When you do think about the way that the wrestling week tends to kind of go, Wednesdays for a while has been the peak, because you've had those 2 programs on the same time, NXT and AEW. Now that, by Wednesday, the majority of your wrestling viewing could technically be considered done, some fans say, you know what, I'm kind of done. I don't really need to watch anything else. So that is kind of a dangerous placement in the week to be at. Even though you still have SmackDown on Fridays, again, that still doesn't have as much viewership as you do towards the beginning of the week. And then when you start throwing in other aspects, like when the NFL comes back and you have Thursday Night Football and other types of sporting events, that's pretty high competition as well.
Didn't even think about that. And I don't want to spit out no wrong information, but I do think that the NFL booked or inked the deal with Amazon in regards to the number of exclusive games that they're getting, which I believe is on Thursday, which Amazon and their partnership with Twitch also is a thing where if you are, where certain people are allowed to stream the NFL game while being able to watch it, whatever that may be. I don't know too much about that, but nonetheless, you can catch it Thursday Night Football on Twitch. Yeah. So the viewers are there on that note. So you will be having people watching them. And I just think that here's the thing. Like, yeah, I would agree. And I also should just really disclaimer that just because there's wrestling every night doesn't mean you have to watch it every night, folks. Because I feel like people are thinking like, oh, you gotta get ready for the marathon. But I just think that SmackDown on Friday, which I think is probably one of the toughest days, considering that people like to, kick back Friday and maybe you either kick it back and staying in, or you're kicking back to go out, whatever it may be. But their numbers have been consistently high. Also has the highest availability being on Fox. Twitch, which is free on every platform, also means that as you get towards the end of the week, it's easier to find what you're looking for because it's typically free. So there's some pros and cons with that, but it will be interesting once it gets around the NFL, because that could actually drive better numbers for them.
That's a really good point. I know they started testing having some games on Amazon just this season. So now that there's a bigger picture with the partnership with Amazon and Twitch, that could possibly drive more people to Twitch, which then could mean they could drive more people to watch Impact. But going back to what you originally stated, I absolutely agree as far as the resiliency of Impact. Again, they've been on every night of the week and they're still standing. They've done something that no other wrestling promotion has ever been able to pull off, having this rotation and ability to be on different networks and different days of the week. And, outside, WWE has had that, here and there with, moving around SmackDown and now in this point moving around NXT. But to, the way that Impact has done it is a big testament to their resiliency as a company, their resiliency as a wrestling promotion, as really just the aptitude to always find a solution. And that's something that's really admirable about Impact. They're always finding a way. They always find a way to survive, to keep on putting together a product, and not only just a product, a pretty damn good product. It's still really solid, and I don't think that this is in any means anywhere towards the end of Impact. If anything, they're going to keep on moving forward.
Yeah. Now, here's the other question that I thought about last week, and now I'm back with it again. If Impact moves to Thursday on Access TV, what does that mean for Impact Wrestling in the UK, which was shown on Wednesday, the day after it showed here? So it's Wednesday, because that deal happened in early October, which is shows on Premier Sports, and also the free sports in UK and Ireland, which was Wednesday night, the preceding night of it being here at 10 p.m. Where the hell is it going here?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
there's a good thing. Like, either it's going to be at the same time, or is it going to face the fate of Friday night?
Well, I mean, they may have to go, because I think the technology to have it stream live in the UK, I imagine that being kind of expensive. Like, that's why they at this point did it a day after, because it's a lot easier to edit and package it and then have it sent off than do a stream all the way internationally. So unless there's some ways to financially make that viable for them, then it does look like probably keeping that same model for now. And again, best case is Friday. Worst case is that gets moved several days out to maybe Saturday or Sunday, because there may be some other programming that's already set there that makes it just having on Fridays not feasible or possible. So, I think it is a big push for them. That should be a big goal, to eventually try and have some international live streaming options, so that you can watch it in the UK the same time that it's live here in the US. But again, too, I mean, you also have to think of time zones and all of that. It just, it is not always a feasible option. So, I mean, in the simplest way, they just move it to Fridays. But again, we don't know what other programming they already have scheduled that could delay that. But it's a really good point, because fans in the UK were very, very excited to have Impact
about
back
to say that
after a hiatus. And now that things are switched up again, that it could be detrimental to that fan base if they have to wait longer than a day to watch that week's episode of Impact.
Agreed. Very loyal fan base. They will definitely be keeping an eye out as to what keeps them and keeps the deal satisfied, because the day after on the Wednesday is actually a great night. Which a Wednesday at 10 p.m. there makes it. I got to think about this for a second. I will say this though: in the UK, if they so I got to think about the time here. If it was. If NXT UK on Thursday is 3 p.m. Eastern time, which makes it 8 p.m. Local time, and if that's 8 to 10 there, and then 10 to 12 there for Impact, it makes sense. If they can work this out for Thursday.
Correct, yeah. And that's a very narrow frame that they can work with.
Yeah,
because I actually think
can make that work.
Yeah, and that doesn't even seem feasible, because that still means that it would be like 5 p.m. here in the States.
Yeah, and it'll be before us.
Yeah, so that doesn't. So it does seem like Fridays, would probably be the earliest it's going to get to the UK.
Yeah. All right, well, beyond that, we'll be keeping an eye out on the change of them moving to Thursday. How does the fans kind of take to it, and how does the programming over the week between their partnership with Impact, with AEW and New Japan? We'll see how that all plays out. Will be interesting. Definitely, like I said, musical chairs and whatnot. And so for us, that means, what in the hell are we going to talk about Impact thing if we're not going to be checking it out Thursday? Look, I'm going to throw this out there. Fingers crossed that things go back to how it used to be, and then we may be talking, no problem. But if it doesn't, then, I mean, what are we talking about Friday morning? I mean, we got lives.
That makes it challenging if it gets switched to Fridays. That's usually a big travel day, vacation day. I would hope that Impact starts to go back to the way that they used to do it with, the process with sites like ours. to do a little bit of a preview, because then that way we can help build that hype. But
Yeah.
again, there was a lot of changes that happened, towards the end of last year that made it so it seemed like the company is still moving in the direction they are now, where everyone just watches it live. But again, that makes it a little bit more challenging, especially for people out on the West Coast who get it a little bit later, and won't be able to provide kind of those same live or same day reviews. Just putting it out there. We talk about West Coast bias in college sports all of the time, and I'm just putting it out there that there is a West Coast bias with.
Yeah, true. While all the big West Coast games get showed at 10 p.m. here, so
yes, yes, yeah. There's a thing we call in the Pac-12 after dark. So it's the craziness that happens where it's 10 o'clock here, 1 o'clock over on the East Coast, and it's just that anyways, it's great games, great things that happen. It's just like the craziness of the world at that point, but it makes it so much harder for at least in the college sports world, but also too in other types of West Coast professional sports. Like you just don't get that same viewership, that same airtime. So
that's true. That's true. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how it's all going to play out with that. So we'll be here. We'll figure it out. Hopefully you all are still going to tune in with us, because it looks like we'll be moving to Fridays April 9th.
April 9th. They will. I mean, the good news is that this format's going to stay the same. But yes, just as you were all getting comfortable with Thursdays, or I'm sorry, not even Thursdays, getting comfortable with Wednesdays, we're jumping a few days ahead to Fridays with this. So, just follow along with us. That's why you subscribe and you get notifications. Make sure you subscribe to Big Gold Belt, so that way when a video goes live like this, right away, you get that notification and you can join us live.
Yep. Before we wrap up tonight, congratulations, James Storm, on his 1,000th match in Impact Wrestling, which was
insane.
Good night. Yeah, definitely good night for him. Good tribute, good cameos, and regardless of how you look at it, James Storm being one of the backbones of Impact Wrestling. The catalog of material they could just show for him could have been the entire show if they wanted.
Yeah. I mean, you could do multiple shows with the amount of James Storm matches that they've had over the years, and his storylines and his presence. It's been good to see him back. I think when he left and he kind of navigated the wrestling world, we saw him with that one, short stint in NXT. He was with the NWA for a little bit, and those were all great opportunities, and for fans, it was great to see him outside of Impact. But at the end of the day, his name is always going to be synonymous with Impact Wrestling as someone who helped build that company, and also, Impact Wrestling to help build, the James Storm that we know today.
Yeah, and then unfortunate news with that, because that match was against Eric Young, which is absolutely the proper match. Was 1,000, for people available, is definitely the right person to do it. But unfortunately, it's being reported that Eric Young has an ACL injury, which puts him out at least 6 months. This is by no way, shape, or form good at all. I mean, the injury is bad. Eric Young is a trooper, fighting back from injuries. He's no stranger from, but considering what he is doing, and him being the only mouthpiece in his stable.
And the stable really was a way to help build up newer talent. So the fact that you use that leader for quite some time, you lose one of your biggest heels. I mean, it's a pretty big hole that's left in Impact right now. I mean, the comeback is always better. So, I hope that he, gets healthy and he's able to come back and be better and stronger than ever. But yeah, it leaves a big hole in the roster, but also in the work that we're doing with that stable, because it was really a way to build up and kind of reinvent talent that had been on the roster that had been kind of stagnant for, several months, if not longer.
And I hope they, able to still utilize them to some extent with, either recorded packages, video packages, or whatnot. But he has to be still a very essential part to the weekly programming for Impact Wrestling because he is, if arguably, their top talent, and they need him. So, and especially with the other folks focusing with the AEW things, he's focusing strictly on Impact. You need him. You need him in every way, shape, or form. So we'll have to see. Wishing him a very speedy recovery, and hopefully, they got a plan in place because this is what that's a really, really huge loss for them. So, all right, Miranda, we're about to roll out. And is there anything else you want to say?
I mean, I think overall this week's episode was fairly solid. I just, one thing I didn't get to talk about last week, and we'll probably circle around again, is the X division. Even though they keep doing this merry-go-round as far as number one contenders and talent, I still feel like it's one of the better features of Impact Wrestling. And something I brought up that we didn't get to talk about either was, in this ideal world of a crossover between Impact and AEW, I'd love to see some interaction between Kenny Omega and Ace Austin. Because if you don't look at Ace Austin and see a lot of the similar traits to Kenny Omega, not only in his look, but his attitude and his ability, I mean, that's just someone in the making. And that's something, too, that if Impact really wanted to invest in and say they wanted to, look at that as, the next big star, it seems like the continued investment in Ace Austin will be well worth it. So that was just something that crossed my mind. We didn't really see, again, outside of just the tag match this week with the X division, but it was just something that popped into my mind that it is a good correlation, and I'd love to see it, though, we may not. It was just something that the commentary team brought up the week before, as far as the X division championship usually being right underneath the world championship. So, if in any way, whether it's Kenny or Rich who wins, is it possible for the X division champion to challenge for the world championship? And that means in a super hyper booked, dream world, would we see Ace Austin versus Kenny Omega? And that, I think, would be a really entertaining match.
Yeah, I mean, if Kenny Omega's gonna, make home in Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, we've already said we know, at least here between us, feel like we're gonna have Kenny Omega, is going to win. So, might as well have him actually defend the championship against Impact wrestlers.
Exactly. And I said it in December. I said Ace Austin is the one to look out for this year. And I like what you're selling there. I absolutely do. And I'm still waiting for Madman Fulton to get the right rub that he deserved. That was a good tag match as well. And the two of them still continue to work really good together as far as the different characters and just in-ring work. I mean, they're really gaining steam on their tag team chemistry. So I like it. And again, at some point, I want to see how this partnership elevates anyone else besides Kenny Omega. So I don't care if he, he faces Johnny Swinger. I don't care. Like, at this
somebody
point, make it worthwhile
else.
here.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, that's going to do it for our hot topic this week. We'll be back next week on April. Is it next week?
Yes, next week already.
Golly. So, just stay tuned. Hopefully you subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can keep up with our updates as to when we're going to go live for this. We'll have to make changes because Impact is making changes. We want to make sure we have an opportunity to give a whole week of Impact material as far as with Impact on Access TV, news, and all that other good stuff, so that when we can come to our hot topic for the week, we know exactly the one we need to discuss. And the only way you're going to do that and hear us is by subscribing, hitting the notification bell, and stay tuned because we'll be back, of course, each and every week. So anyway, that will do it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed today's show. We'll be back next week, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in.